Nothing predicts future behavior as much as past impunity. Impunity begets impunity. The CBN Act 2007 provides for the appointment of the central bank governor and his removal from office. Section 8.1 of the CBN Act provides that the governor and the deputy governor shall be persons of recognized financial experience and shall be appointed by the president, subject to confirmation by the Senate, on such terms and conditions as may be set out in their respective letters of appointment. If you go down to Section 11 of the same Act, it provides for cessation of appointment by central bank governor, deputy governor, and directors of the CBN. And it stipulates in Section 11.2, paragraph C and F of the Act, that the governor, the deputy governor, or director shall cease to hold office in the bank if he is guilty of a serious misconduct in relation to his duties and that's under the Act, or is removed by the president, provided that the removal of the governor shall be supported by 2/3 majority of the Senate. Pray that it be so removed. We know that for anybody to say you are guilty, it must be the court only. Then Section 11 sub 4 of the same Act provide that if the governor, any deputy governor or director of the bank dies, resign, or otherwise vacates his office before the expiration of his term for which he is appointed, there shall be appointed a fit and proper person to take his office on the board for the unexpired term of his appointment in the first instance, like it happened in the case of Sanusi. So I know this sounds like jargons as I quote section, subsection, but I beg, no verse. Just follow me small. Will they go somewhere and you will soon understand. At this stage, I must also say, like I have always said earlier, I'm not a fan of Emefiele. So I'm not talking about Emefiele. I'm discussing law as it relates to the holder of the office of the central bank governor and the need to uphold the sanctity of the law always, irrespective of who is involved. Some people, though, have argued that the president has power to hire and fire and suspend a CBN governor and pointed to the provisions of Section 11 of the Interpretation Act. So I beg, make we read Section 11 of the Interpretation Act 2004. It states, where an enactment confers a power to appoint a person either to an office or to exercise any function, whether for a specific period or not, the power includes power to remove or suspend. So that power donates power to remove or suspend if you have the power to appoint. But can Section 11(1)(b) of the Interpretation Act apply to the office of the CBN governor? That is the big question. Under Section 11 of the CBN Act, the power to appoint and remove the CBN governor from office have been specifically and carefully donated to two authorities. That is the President and the Senate, as the procedure of appointment and removal are provided exclusively by the Act. So according to the Supreme Court in Ude and Uwara, once the law prescribes a particular method of exercising a statutory power, any other method of exercising it is excluded, and to do otherwise would enthrone arbitrariness. So you see, we say don't even go court for today advocacy. And according to my Egbon and Oga GT Oguye, he posited that assuming without conceding that the power of suspension can be imported into the CBN Act, because in no even the CBN Act, the CBN did not make provision for it. The question is, who can exercise the power of suspension and how can it be exercised? According to him, he concluded that the answer is not far-fetched, as he believes that the Senate and the President are both the appointing and removing authority of the CBN Act, and neither of them can act alone. So it is our belief, therefore, that legally speaking, if we follow the submission of the doctrine of he who hires can suspend, then the two institutions, that is Senate and the President, who hire the CBN governors, are the only ones who can jointly suspend or sack him, except the court says otherwise, especially since there is no mention of suspension in the CBN Act. Remember, in 2014, when Lamido Sanusi was suspended as central bank governor, even though the PDP and their supporters of Goodluck argued that the president has the power to suspend the CBN governor by the provisions of the Interpretation Act, it was the argument and position of the APC supporters that the reason why the powers of the suspension is not donated by the CBN Act is to make the occupant of the office of the CBN governor enjoy security of tenure. They also concluded at that time that the CBN governor is not to occupy the office at the pleasure of a president. But today, the tables have turned. I must say, Since the appointment has statutory flavor, just as the president cannot go to the university and suspend a vice chancellor or a lecturer as the president, claiming authority under Public Service Rule or Interpretation Act, but in strict compliance with the statute establishing the university, I would also say that the president also, in suspending or removing a central bank governor, cannot abandon the CBN Act and seek refuge under Interpretation Act to suspend or remove the CBN governor without the concurrence of the National Assembly. I will therefore advocate, until we learn to obey our laws strictly, irrespective of who is involved, ensure the compliance with our court orders and judgment, whether against government or otherwise, and most importantly, properly fast-track the administration of justice in our country, will continue to make motions without movement, as no serious-minded person will take a country where law changes depending on the face of the person in power and court judgment are observed in breach, as the windmill of justice grinds slowly, but surely forgetting that justice delayed is justice denied. We will not make progress. I'm not a prophet of doom, but I'm just telling you. Feel free to argue, agree, or disagree with us by leaving your comments in the comment section on all our social media platforms, showing us on your screen. Ours is to point government to the provisions of the law. It is another thing for them to follow. And as we go, please, let us remind all our governors and local government chairmen, as the rains are here, all the roads in the state are collapsing under their shoulder, especially in Imo and Edo State under Governor Obaseki. See you next week.